I've never been kidnapped. I've never had a debt with any drug dealers. I kind of took it really personal that my name would be mentioned in such a dark light. I didn't want my name to be associated with anyone of that caliber.
Cap. That's cap. I accuse you of capping.
And I went to the house and I seen him in there.
Preacher would give you advice on your relationships. He'd give you advice on saving your money, how you dress, you know, how you spoke. He was like dad to some of the guys didn't have fathers. Yeah, I was working off and on when I could find work as a carpenter, and that's exactly how I met Preacher. He said, but how long you been working here? I said, I don't know, it's almost 2 months. He tells me, listen, you got a choice. You either with me or against me. Part of this family or you killed. You know what I'm saying? I said, well, what's the problem? I don't know nothing. He tells me, you want to leave this room? You're a part of this family. So I decide I can't win. You know what I mean? So I tell him, okay, what you want me to do? So he says, okay, take him to Davidson Avenue. We want somebody on Davidson Avenue to move off of the block. We spoke to him once and he didn't move. So if he don't move, leave him there. In other words, leave him on the block dead. So when I get to the corner, I say, yo, listen, people around the corner is complaining. They said they want you off the block. And he put his hand in my face and he shoved me. And he shoved me backwards. So I shoved the gun in his chest and I emptied the clip. Preacher asked, how'd he do? I said, the kid's a monster. Preacher looked at me, he got up, he kissed me on both cheeks. He said, welcome to the family.
Is that the first time you killed somebody?
That was the very first time. He treated me like I was somebody, I was part of the family. But in hindsight, I was a well-trained pit bull. That's what he did to me.
That means a monster.
Can we come for a minute, please?
I'm sorry, did this OG killer ass nigga just need a cry break?
Are you crying?
No.
Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
The whole crew was assembled. I was told to get naked.
Pause.
Which I did.
Pause.
I was to stand inside of a black bag. I was shackled. I was handcuffed behind my back.
Pause.
The bag was pulled up to my shoulders and another bag was pulled down over that, over my head. And there was a vote taken. All those in favor of just getting rid of this guy, say aye. I could hear him going around the room. Nobody voted to kill me. Except for Malik. Malik didn't like me very much at all. About 5 seconds goes by. I hear a preacher say, take them chains off, my son. The bag was removed from my head. The bag had a few ounces of sweat in the bottom of the bag. You know what I mean? The chains were taken off of me and I looked over at Malik and you could clearly see that he was extremely angry because nobody voted to kill me.
In the early 1990s, one of Harlem's drug dealers was named Small Paul Singleton. He allegedly owed Preacher money, and Preacher came knocking.
When Preacher asked for the money, he was laughed at. Like, man, you pressing me about some money, man? You got all the money in the world. And that was the end of his life, right there. All he had to do was give him the money. He had it.
They lured Small Paul to a location where he was eventually brought to the Bronx.
When they were in the basement, thumbs down on Small Paul. they're gonna whack him.
And from what I understand, he was sexually assaulted
What the fuck?
after his murder.
He used that as a punishment to guys that thought they were really tough. Like he would do that to them just to take away their macho manhood.
Post-mortem necrophilia. It is not about sex. It's about dominance. It's about power. It's about control. Well, there are many commonalities that mirror other pathological serial killers, like Jeffrey Dahmer. The rules had to be adhered to, lest you too find yourself in the basement. That torture chamber.
Small Paul was killed and put in bags and partial suitcases and brought to Queens and dumped back in the neighborhood, which if you think about it, the Queens detectives are gonna think it happened in Queens, and the Bronx detectives are never gonna know it even happened there.
It's actually a really smart way of dividing and conquering the police department, because the police department really in those days in particular was focused in the county in which they sat. So if they found a body in Queens, the detectives who found the body wouldn't necessarily be questioning a whole bunch of people about what had happened in the Bronx or in Manhattan.
One of the things that made Preacher so unique was an air of invincibility. They thought of him as like Superman, and with law enforcement, he was virtually untouchable.
I get a call from a source telling me they just spotted Preacher's buddy, John Cuff.
John Cuff was a former housing authority cop in New York City who was capable of running records, doing things.
So I head over there and I pull him over and I walk up, and sure enough, it's Cuff driving. So he hands me a driver's license. I know the name on the driver's license. It's not John Cuff, but I also know there was an employee in Department of Motor Vehicle in New Jersey that were selling real licenses. So if I run this in the computer, it's going to come back real, even though it's not him. So then we went through this game where I said, "What's your name?" And his response was, "You got my license?" And I said, "Okay, step out of the car." I said, "John, what's your name?" And he looks at me, he goes, "You know my name." I said, "Yeah." So I locked him up. So we go in and I'm doing an inventory search, and in his wallet was a list. And it was several names, and it was actually not only names, but relationships. All these different players and relationships, or players themselves that are getting money. I figure it's an extortion list or a kidnap list. So it'd be like what they were into. They would kidnap relatives or people associated with these crews and then hold them for money until they paid it. There's a copy machine right in front of the cell, so I copied it. And then I gave him back his copies, but I had my copy too. And I turned that over to the FBI. I charged him with criminal impersonation. The license is real, and so basically they did nothing with that. He gets right back out.
Like when he was walking out smiling, in your mind you're saying, I don't think I can say on camera what my mind was saying, but you got off this time, but we're gonna dance another day.
I can't remember how many days later it was that my pager starts going off, and it's Larry Love's code and a phone number, and then 911, 911. So now I get up and I call, and it's a payphone in the courthouse at 100 Center Street. And he says, "They're out there right now. They're sitting in a van right next to my car. Cuff and Preacher in there, and they're gonna kill me."
This particular individual had what we call in the trade, he had street cred. So when this guy, who had committed murders himself, is talking about getting murdered, and you could hear in his voice how scared he was, we went into action.
So I said, "Okay, stay in the courthouse. Let me get some people down there." This is at the criminal courthouse, and it's around lunchtime. I know these people are nuts, but that's nuts. Middle of the afternoon in front of a courthouse, they're gonna try to whack somebody. So I get down there, and I see the van, and I could see from the side mirrors, there's people sitting in the van, and they're right next to Larry Love's car. And then, for some reason, Larry Love comes walking out of the courthouse, even though I was told him not to. And he runs across the parking lot and jumps in the car, and it's like, oh, great.
The cooperating witness panics.
He throws it in reverse and takes off and goes the wrong way.
The traffic's coming this way. He's backing up into the traffic. And he must have went about 8 or 10 blocks against the traffic. And if you watch it unfold before your eyes, he was a pretty damn good driver because he didn't hit any of the cars that were coming right towards him.
So now I see the van's reverse lights come on, so I start running towards the van. And Cuff looks over his shoulder and sees me and stops just for a second and takes off with traffic the opposite way. So now the chase is on. We're running on foot through traffic.
And we're running, and now all chaos is broken loose.
All these people that are there for court, the law enforcement officers, all getting involved in the chase.
I remember when over the citywide radio, 3 guys running with guns. They didn't know we were cops. Well, make a long story short, we get to the van. It's Preacher. It is John Cuff in the van. And we pull him over. We pull him out of the van. And inside the van are Halloween masks, duct tape, ties, and a lead pipe. You know, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out what was going to happen. Of course, we lock him up on the spot.
New York is the home of sissies in hip hop. Africa Bambaataa, sissy. Diddy, sissy. Queen Latifah, sissy. It's all sissies coming out of New York.
Park Projects was one of Boston's most notorious housing projects. Located in Roxbury, Massachusetts. The projects was the former home of singer Bobby Brown and New Edition. But in 1986, Darryl Whiting stepped into Roxbury's Orchard Park Projects looking for a career change and a new city. Originally from New York City, Whiting relocated to Boston on the eve of a boom in the cocaine trade. He remained a shadowy figure as late as 1990, but by 1991, the New York Boys, a street gang headed by Whiting, is said to have been operating a 24-hour-a-day crack distribution business that wrought havoc in the Roxbury housing project. And according to reports, Whiting would use a series of vulnerable women, usually single mothers, and convince them, through bribes or threats, to let him stay with them and run drugs out of their apartments. And according to investigators, Darryl Whiting turned his little drug operation into a gold mine, allegedly making $100,000 a day and given a nickname of God. However, God's reign over the Orchard Park projects only lasted about 4 to 5 years. His organization was ultimately penetrated by a maverick undercover Boston police officer named Jeff Coy. And according to reports, Jeff Coy worked undercover for 6 months, walking and talking like a gangster. He carried Uzis around Orchard Park and snorted cocaine chased by Valium. He would later testify in court that he shot 2 local stick-up men in an Orchard Park hallway who mistook him for an average drug customer. He also testified that he was involved in a drive-by shooting in the Lenox Street housing development. But despite his damaging testimony, the defense counsel would challenge the testimony of Jeff Coy, stating that Coy had failed to follow proper police procedures, and showing that Coy had suffered serious psychological and emotional problems during and after the investigation. Nevertheless, on July 24, 1991, a jury convicted Whiting of 1 count of engaging in a continuing criminal enterprise, 21 counts of distribution of cocaine, and 1 count of money laundering. Whiting was later sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, making him the first man in the state of Massachusetts to receive a life sentence for drug charges. And despite Officer Jeffrey Coy's testimony, it wasn't a fairy tale ending for the prosecutor's star witness. According to reports, 3 years after the trial, Officer Jeffrey Coy subsequently took his own life in his apartment in 1994. The story of Darryl God Whiting and Jeffrey Coy was the inspiration behind the 1999 crime movie, In Too Deep, starring Omar Epps and LL Cool J. But the Darryl Whiting story would continue 25 years after his conviction, when Whiting became eligible for a reduced sentence, based on new sentencing guidelines created in 2014 that had led to tens of thousands of prisoners being released early. However, a federal judge refused to reduce the life sentence of the notorious drug kingpin, saying that his violent history and a book he published in 2013 titled, Taking It to Another Level, was enough to convince her that he remains a danger to the community.
Bitch! I said, get these little niggas, bro! I'm not about to bust these little ass kids!
Oh, well, you should have thought about that. Fuck.
Bro, stop, motherfucker! Look at this Billy, cuz!
I ain't got all sons for no reason.
Stop!
Man, whoop his ass. Fuck him.
Hey, nah, for real. Hey, for real.
Bitch ass nigga.
Get the fuck off me, bro!
Beat his ass.
Bro, real shit, stop!
Beat his ass.
Stop!
Yeah. Whoop his ass. Yeah, put the bottle down,
Bro,
drunk
stop!
bitch. Drunk ass bitch. Right here. Yeah. Bitch ass nigga.
Bro, stop!
No.
I'm not about to keep playing with y'all little niggas, bro! Bro, say real shit. Bro, stop fucking playing with me! Sailor, stop! Sailor, fucking stop!
Pussy.
Bitch ass.
Sailor!
Your bitch ass.
Fucking punk.
Bro, stop!
Bitch.
Bro, fucking stop! I'm not what the fuck.
It would have been the day all them little niggas would have became a man, because they would have had to scrap me for real. Ain't no fucking way. Thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe.